What is going on, Facebook family? It has been a minute, right? It's been a grip. It has definitely been a grip. It is June 19th. What is this day all about? What is this day about? This day is about liberation. It is all about liberation. It is all about freedom. Who does not want to be liberated? Who does not want to walk and live and breathe and move in freedom? Because the fact of the truth is, I wouldn't be able to be before you right now if we didn't have this day of liberation and freedom. So if you are glad that you are familiar and know me, and we may not have the same melanin pigmentation, go ahead and give me some love and let me know that you are very ecstatic about this day where we celebrate liberation, where we celebrate freedom. So definitely have to say something about that. So glorious Juneteenth to everyone that is present. I will not be before you long. I said today is about liberation and freedom, and that's what we're going to talk about for just a minute. But it's not necessarily the type of liberation and freedom that you're thinking about. Yes, this is a day when we are celebrating when people with my melanin pigmentation in slavery times were able to just have the liberation and the freedom that we have today. It was written, it was official. Also, on this day, for me personally, it is, it has been 36 years since my mother died when I was 13 years old. The fact that I can even say that out loud and I have a smile on my face, not because my mother died, but just the fact that I'm able to acknowledge that and I'm able to share that. So it's Juneteenth, where people were liberated and received freedom. It is 36 years since my mother died, and it's been 8 months. 8 months that I gave birth to something, but that required death. And so there's a lot of liberation that I am in the midst of right now. And what I have went through these past 8 months was not something I could have ever fathomed. In the midst of going through all that, it was like, it ain't about you though, Tamika. So you have to share this with other people to aid and assist someone else, because that's what it's all about. The life I live is not about me, but it's about serving the creation of people. And I know that someone will be able to identify and see themselves. You will be able to identify and see yourself in the midst of this. So just first had to honor Juneteenth, had to honor 36 years since my mother's death, and honor and talk about what I gave birth to in these 8 months before something had to die. So I'm going to share with you 3 things that I encountered, that I experienced. This is me just being raw. This is me just being real. For anybody that's been trekking with me for a while, then you know that I'm all about transparency. And that's what you're going to get. Nothing has changed in the 8 months in regards to that. 3 things I want to share with you that I have been experiencing in these past 8 months since I've been off socials. This first week was my first time coming back to socials in 8 months. And this is my first time actually being live in front of the camera, just sharing with you. So there's 3 things that transpired and happened. I've been on this serious journey of doing just work on Tamika. And one of the things that I realized that came to me that I didn't know about was you can't move in your own self-sufficiency, because then you don't have a true dependence. Are you moving in self-sufficiency, or are you moving in dependency, Tamika? And that's what I come to find out. I'm not going to go into all the details right now, and there may be some people who are in the midst of this particular story that I'm going to share, and I honor you. I love you for everything it is that you have done, your graciousness, your mercy. I honor you, and I really thank you. So I found out that I was moving in self-sufficiency, still moving in it. I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ. You may hear me reference the Lord. If you don't believe in God, ain't no problem. But I know you can still find yourself in the midst of this. But I was moving in self-sufficiency, and I didn't have a dependency upon God. And I'm going to look at my notes because I want to make sure that I am being very specific. I can be long-winded, but I want to be very specific. There was, in the midst of, probably before these 8 months, a little bit before the 8 months, there was a particular situations that transpired and happened, and I was reacting. Not responding, but I was reacting. In the reaction, I was moving in my own sufficiency, my own dependency, my own, just all of my ownness. And there wasn't a there was not a dependability upon God, right? And so I came to realize that even though I am a disciple of Jesus Christ, and when you love God, when you serve in God, we're supposed to be dependent upon Him. We no longer move in our own actions and what it is that we do, because it's going to get jacked up and messed up every single time. And that's what was happening. I wasn't consulting Him. And this is when I realized, I come to realize that I had never truly had the opportunity to be in the posture of a child. I never learned how to be a child. My mom died when I was 36 years old. So that sense of family, when you have parental figures over you and they're raising you up, that was something I had never experienced. And therefore, I was in a position where I was having to humble myself like a toddler. I'm still in the midst of it. So that I can really lean on God as my Abba. And Abba in translation means father. And therefore, because of something that I engaged in when I reacted and not responded, I realized that I was, what is this talking about? Try closing other applications. Okay. I'm like, I don't know what this, I haven't been on social media for a while, so we're just going to close some stuff out because I don't know what it's talking about. Maybe I got too much stuff pulled up. Is that what you're trying to tell me? That might be what it's trying to tell me. Anywho, hopefully y'all can still hear and see me. So because of my reaction and not responding, I was leaning and moving on my own sufficiency, and I wasn't moving in dependency. And then the revelation, like I said, came because I've never had a chance to be a child. So I'm still in the midst of assuming the posture of a student. Are you moving in self-sufficiency? Are you moving in dependency? The second thing is, you don't lose yourself trying to be someone else. And I didn't even realize how I was in the midst of really truly about to lose myself because I'm trying to be someone else. I was in the midst of this workshop summit. It was a business meeting session. Shout out to Marcus Y. Rozier. If you are not following him, if you're not familiar with who he is, you should probably most definitely do that. I was attending one of his business meetings, and in this meeting, he started talking about how on social media and just the world that we live in, we're in information overload. And something he shared resonated so hard, and I hope if I cry, I cry, because that's just the realness. But he shared about the information overload we're in the midst of, and I'm paraphrasing, but it was more about because of that information overload, especially me as I'm starting out as a business owner. You got this person saying you need to do it this way. You got another person saying it should look like this. You have somebody else saying it should be like that. And maybe it's not business. It's how you're raising your children, where you're supposed to live, how you're supposed to dress, how you're supposed to look. We are bombarded in information everywhere. And he said, I'm going to say on my notes, because of this information overload, you just get lost in the sauce. I'm paraphrasing. And the light bulb went off. As a new business owner, I was losing my authenticity. I've never owned a business before. This is all brand new. I'm looking at this person. I'm looking at that person. I'm looking at what someone else does, and because that's the way they're doing it, I'm trying to do it that way too. But is that the way I'm supposed to do it? Is it the way that you're supposed to do it? Why are you actually even doing it like that? Is it because it looks good for that particular person? And maybe they're getting the acknowledgement, the recognition that you so desire, whether if it's extra followers, it looks like they're living a particular lifestyle. It looks like their bank account is growing because of the image it looks like for this particular lifestyle. What is the real reason as to why you are doing it? The real reason I was doing it. And when Marcus Y. Rogers talked about that information overload, it just clicked. And I was like, I'm losing my authenticity. I can't lose my identity. And in the midst of that, the revelation came as to, oh my gosh, this is why I was off social media for 8 months. I didn't know it at the time, because if I can be honest, I knew for like 3 weeks I was supposed to get off social media, but I fought and resisted. It was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And if you don't know, I'm a breast cancer conqueror. That is the most inopportune time for me to get off social media. And I fought it. I'm not going to lie, I was disobedient. I did not do what I was meant to do. But eventually I did. So that was the second thing that has transpired in the midst of this 8 months is don't lose yourself trying to be someone else. The third thing in the midst of this 8-month hiatus is that some identities must die before new ones can be birthed. In the Bible, there's a story of this individual named Jacob. And Jacob was janky. I'll just say that. Jacob was janky. He had a sibling. He was a little bit manipulative. He was used to moving and doing things in his own way, in his own sufficiency, in his own dependability. But there came this time where he was going to meet his sibling. And before he went to go meet his sibling, he had this wrestle. I was studying the book of Nehemiah under this lady, Rachel G. Scott. She was absolutely amazing. And she began talking about this story. And I went back and studied it. But in the midst of this story, Jacob is wrestling with this male. Now, some people say that he's wrestling with God, but while I was doing my studies, it was just like Jacob is wrestling with the next version of himself because Jacob's name changed to Israel. Another light bulb went off. Oh my gosh, Tamika, you are in the midst of wrestling with who you are now and who I'm calling you to be. In the midst of this 8 months, one of the things that I did, I went to this 4-day intensive heart healing workshop. And when I say intensive, it was like from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. 4 days straight, intense workshop, just about inner work, heart healing, absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to make sure I also drop, because I have something that I'm going to provide and give to you so that it can help you go through whatever journey you're in the midst of or that you start to be in the midst of. Let me pin that at the top. I want to ensure that some of the questions that I had to ask myself in the sitting and the pondering that I had to do in order to have the old version of Tamika die in order to start evolving into the new version, I had to sit with myself. So you will see pinned at the top, there is a resource that I am providing to you for you to start going through a journey to ask yourself some of the questions that I had to ask myself as I sat. But with this third one, as I'm moving on, there was that story of Jacob and Israel, and Jacob was wrestling with the evolved version of himself because there were ways that he was moving and how he was being, and that would no longer sustain him as he was transitioning and evolving into this new season. Light bulb went off again as I'm reading the story. And then guess what else happens? I'm in this other masterclass under Dr. Darius Daniels, who I love. That is my pastor. He is my coach. He is my mentor. And I'm sitting in this class, and he begins to talk about a reset. That he was sharing how he was going through this part of where he needed to do some resetting in his life, and of course he's sharing it with us. And as he's given the different areas that we may possibly reset in, I heard it just as plain as day, spiritual. I had to go through also a spiritual reset. So there were two things that I experienced in the midst of the some identities must die before new ones can live. Jacob had to die in order to move to Israel, become Israel. For me, how can I die? And when I don't want to do something, that's when I know I'm supposed to do it without a shadow of a doubt. I did not want to do a 3-day consecration. And for those of you who don't know, 3-day consecration is when you fast without food, without water. In 3 days, I probably had maybe almost a gallon of water, but I had to go on a 3-day consecration so I could hear more clearly, and the new evolved version of Tamika was being produced. Because when I attended that 4-day workshop, the name of the new Tamika had already been given, but I had kind of like cast that to the side, didn't remember it until I went on this 3-day consecration and until I engaged in this 7-day spiritual reset. During that reset, I could not pray for myself, but I just prayed for other people. And during the reset, I realized I lost something that I had It's just the heartbeat of Tamika. If I'm a dancer, I lost dancing. I lost listening to music that lifted me up. During this spiritual reset, I could not pray for myself. I just fully prayed for other people. And during this reset, I walked outside. There's a bridge nearby where I live where you can walk over the water. Water is my happy place. And I just free flowed danced outside near the water, the wind, the birds. I just dance. I worship and I dance. I'm a dancer. And that's what happened. And in the midst of that consecration, in the midst of that reset, I remembered the new name and identity that had been given to me during that 4-day intensive workshop. So 3, some identities must die before new ones live. And that's what happened. In order for me to evolve, right, I had to let something die in order for something new to be birthed. Same thing is applicable to you. Check this out. I'm pretty sure all of us have read books. When you're reading a book, do you ever stay on the same page and say, oh, I'm going through this book? do you, are you flipping the pages, or are you staying on the same page or in the same chapter when you're reading the book and you're telling people, oh yeah, I'm going through this book, I'm reading this book? That's absolutely absurd. It's the same thing when it comes to our book of life. We have to turn the page. It is prudent for you to turn the page. It is prudent for myself to turn the page and to evolve into the new chapter in our book of life. And I didn't realize that I was doing that. But I had to come to a place of silence. I had to tap out where there was information overload, where there's so much noise, where we can get so caught up in comparison and looking what other people do and seeing what everybody has to say and hearing what's the new thing. It may not be social media for you. You think about it. I am believing that this free resource that I provided for you will begin to aid and assist you in going through that, to figure those things out. Because there is something there. So in closing, I again just want to say, I'm looking at my notes because no shade, I want to stay focused and I'm a little bit over already. The life I live is not about me, but it's about serving the creation of people. And you may feel as though something is off in your life. Something may have resonated with what I just shared with you. I just gave you language to something that internally you've been experiencing or that you've been thinking, and maybe you just quite couldn't identify with what that was, right? Because a lot of us sometimes we want to birth something new in our future. We want to do something different. But in order for you to birth something for your future, there's a death that may have to transpire that cannot go with you where you're going. Birth and death must transpire. A lot of times we rejoice for birth and we mourn death, right? However, in order for us to truly evolve and transform, there must be an honoring that birth and death have to coexist. We have to honor both of them because both are a necessity. We can't birth ourselves into something else when we're holding on to an identity that is no longer us. I want to share with you lastly that, let me look at my notes. If you have found that you have outgrown people, you have outgrown a certain place in your life, maybe you are on autopilot right now, maybe you are living up to the expectations of other people, no matter who those other people are, but it's really truly not you. Whatever it may be, I just want to petition and place this before you for you to really find out, why am I doing the things that I'm doing? Why am I in the place that I am in right now? What do I need to release? What needs to be put to death in order for there to be a true birth? Today is a day of liberation and freedom. I was like, this is such the geniusness of God to be like, this is the day that you're doing it and you're going to return to social media. It's the day of Juneteenth, where we're celebrating liberation and freedom. It has been 36 years since my mother died. It's been 8 months that I had to have something die in order for liberation and for birth to come forth. So I hope that this has helped you, because it's really not about me. It is not about me. This is not for you to see what was birthed or what was born because of what I experienced and went through, because everything that I do, I strive to ensure that I exude and give it to other people. That's what my life is about. But this is for you to start identifying what in your life needs to die in order for you to truly give birth to what's authentically you. Not what someone else does, but what is authentically you. That's what I got. You will see me on socials intermittently as I work my way back, and it's going to be for me to serve you. I've always been in that posture of serving, but that's where I am right now, because in the midst of these 8 months, I got so many downloads, so many ideas, so many things was coming to me of how I can serve other people on another level, how I can serve people in excellence. And I'm going to be sharing some of those things with you. But in the meantime, men, and for my women, especially for my women, you will be able to find that free gift, that free resource is pinned in the comments, just to aid you to see what is it that you may be experiencing right now that really needs to die in order for the evolved version of you to be unleashed and to be birthed. Thank you so much. Until next time, make sure you complete that, and we will see you sometime soon. This was so weird coming back on social media. Can I tell you I didn't want to do that either? But I didn't have a choice, because it's not about me. That would be selfish of me. If the things these 3 things I just went through, are you moving in dependency or are you moving in self-sufficiency? Don't lose yourself trying to be someone else. And then the third one is, some identities must die before a new one lives. It would be very selfish of me if the things that happened to me in this 8 months, I kept it to myself. But I say, I'm here to serve the creation of people. It ain't about me. And so, there's my one, there's that. You'll hear more from me intermittently. Until that time, agape abundantly. Again, I hope this resource guide aid you. Not hope, I know that it will. And I honor you for your courage to go forth and complete that, whether it's with yourself, if it's with your girlfriends, if you're married, do it with your spouse. You can do it in the workspace, wherever. Just, it will start to get your wheels turning in your head. Until that time, I'll see y'all later. God pay abundantly.